All right, today we're going to open up a toolkit for your mind. One that's specifically designed to help us handle all those tricky, disruptive emotions that, well, they always seem to show up the second we try to get a little quiet, right?
You know that feeling when your mind is just a chaotic committee meeting? Everyone's shouting over each other, you've got anger demanding to be heard, boredom is just sighing loudly in the corner, and impatience is already tapping its foot by the door. It feels totally overwhelming. But what if you weren't just a victim in that meeting? What if you could actually learn to be the chairperson?
So here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to talk about managing your inner committee. Then we'll get into deconstructing your feelings. What are they even made of? After that, we'll open up a toolkit for some common hurdles, and then tackle some strategies for those really intense emotions. And finally, and this is the important part, we'll see how to take all of this from your practice into your real life.
Okay, let's dive right in. The first big idea we need to grab onto is this. You are not your emotions. You are the chairperson of the committee where they all get a voice.
And this simple idea, it is such a powerful shift in perspective. Think about it. Instead of being completely swallowed up by a feeling, this inner committee idea creates some breathing room. Suddenly, you can see these emotions as just different voices in your mind. You can actually listen to what they're trying to say, figure out their agendas, and then, this is key, you get to decide how to respond. You're no longer just getting dragged around by them. You're the one in charge of the meeting.
Now, to be a good chairperson, you really have to understand the members of your committee, right? So for our next section, let's actually deconstruct these feelings. We're going to look at the recipe, if you will, for any emotion.
Okay, this is such an empowering concept. Basically, any feeling you ever have is made up of these three ingredients. First, you've got the bodily fabrication. That's the physical stuff, How your breath gets all shallow and tight when you're anxious? That's it. Second, there's the verbal fabrication. This is that nonstop chatter in your head, the what-if stories that just race around. And finally, you have the mental fabrication. This is the perception, the feeling that kind of colors your whole view of the world in that moment. But here's the magic. They're just ingredients in a recipe. And if you can learn to spot them, maybe even adjust them a little, you can actually change the final dish. You can change the emotion itself.
All right, so we've got the big ideas down. Let's get practical. It's time to open up that toolkit and look at some of the most common and, let's be honest, annoying hurdles we all face when we try to meditate.
First up, the absolute classic practice killer, boredom. You know the feeling. Nothing is happening. Your mind is just screaming, "Can we please do literally anything else?" It feels like you've just run face first into a brick wall. But here's the wild, counterintuitive tool for this. Instead of fighting it, what if you actually got curious about it? Seriously, treat boredom like you're a wildlife observer who's just spotted some rare, fascinating creature. Get curious. What does boredom actually feel like in your body? What kind of thoughts pop up with it? The moment you turn your attention towards it, it stops being this huge obstacle, and it just becomes another thing to observe. It becomes part of the meditation. Okay, next up is discouragement. This is that little voice, that nagging inner critic that loves to whisper, "You're not good at this. You're doing it wrong." And it gets especially loud when you start comparing yourself to others who just seem so calm and collected, right?
The antidote here is just a good dose of self-compassion. You have to remember, even the absolute masters, the best meditators you can think of, they all struggled. They all started somewhere. They got distracted. They had bad days. Progress is never, ever a straight line. The goal isn't to be perfect. It's just to be persistent. Honestly, just showing up on the cushion, that's a win.
And of course, we have to talk about impatience. That are we there yet feeling. That constant need to get somewhere, to achieve some amazing, blissful state you read about. But this desire to arrive is such a trap because it completely pulls you out of the only place you can ever actually be. Right here, right now.
Here's a good way to think about it. Imagine you're driving to a stunningly beautiful mountain. If all you can think about is getting to the peak, you're going to miss the incredible forests, the winding roads, the amazing views along the way. The journey is the point. And it's the same with meditation. It's a lifelong journey, and the path itself, that's the practice. It's not just some chore to get through to reach a destination. Okay, so we've looked at some of the common hurdles. Now, let's gear up for the big stuff. It's time to talk about navigating those really intense inner storms, the kinds of powerful emotions that honestly feel like they could just sweep you off your feet.
What's cool is that each of these tools basically works by flipping the script on the emotion. So, take lust. The trap is that the fantasy feels so real and compelling, right? The tool? Inject a little dose of boring reality to break the spell. Then there's anger. The trap is that you feel so powerful, so justified. But the counterintuitive tool is to realize that when you act on that anger, you're actually giving all your power away to the person or thing that made you angry. And with jealousy, the trap is feeling like your joy depends on what other people have. The antidote? Actively, intentionally, cultivate joy for their success. It's the direct opposite of that feeling of lack.
You know, one of the trickiest inner storms of all can just be doubt. That quiet, nagging question. Is any of this actually doing anything? Is it working? And let me just say, if you feel that, it is a completely normal, expected part of the journey.
So, when doubt shows up, there are two really powerful antidotes. First, you can choose to place your trust in the source, in the countless teachers and practitioners who have dedicated their entire lives to these practices. And second, you can be really honest with yourself. Use that doubt as a mirror. Ask yourself, am I truly putting in the effort? Am I practicing with sincerity? When you do that, doubt stops being an enemy and becomes, well, a really valuable checkpoint on your path.
Okay, and this brings us to maybe the most important point of all. None of it, is just for the 10 or 20 minutes you spend sitting on a cushion. So for our final section, let's see how this entire toolkit is really designed to be used out there in the real world.
Because this is where you see the real payoff. That inner committee idea, it's a lifesaver during a tense argument, because you can chair the meeting in your head instead of just reacting and shouting. All that practice with boredom, suddenly waiting in a long line at the grocery store isn't a frustrating waste of time. It's a chance for a little mindfulness. That self-compassion you've been working on, that's what's going to get you through a tough setback at work. You see, every single one of these skills has a direct, practical application that just makes life better.
And that really is the ultimate takeaway here. Meditation isn't about escaping from life. It's a training ground for life. You're building these muscles, resilience, wisdom, compassion, not just so you can have a nice, quiet 20 minutes, but so you can navigate the other 23 hours and 40 minutes of your day with a more peaceful and aware mind. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. What if the real practice isn't just what happens when your eyes are closed? What if every moment, every single frustration, every unexpected joy, every boring wait in line, what if all of it is a chance to practice, a chance to build a more peaceful mind?